4 years ago, I was 25 years of age. I have just finished my MBA degree and I was working at one of the top organizations in the region. I was making a good amount of money and I drove a cool car, I lived alone in a cool apartment which I designed the way that I like. I had a beautiful girlfriend next to me. Pretty much everything that a guy asks for. 6 months later, I had no job. I was living at a friend's couch. I had no car, I had no money, and my girlfriend ditched me. How did I lose it all? Let's pause for a moment. Long time ago, I heard a quote that says, we as human beings, if we didn't want more, we'd still be living in caves and riding horses and donkeys. Picture that. Well, I had a similar feeling. I wanted more. I grew up in a family where, unfortunately, my mom passed away when I was 16, and my mom and dad weren't together, so all of a sudden I had to take care of myself. My older sister, she was 20, she had to take care of herself, and my younger brother, who was 7. So since these early age of my life, I had to start to make things better for me. So I learned something called life checklist. And I start writing the things that I want to achieve and get in life. I want to study, I want to earn more, I want to get things moving for me. And guess what? I graduated from university. I got a job at one of the best organizations in the region. And I was working in finance. And I was doing pretty much well. And I started to tick things off my checklist. 2 years later, in the finance department, I was really sick and tired. And I realized that more wasn't really filling me out. So I started to dabble with the idea of personal development. And I started to read the first book, then the second book, and I got addicted to it. And at one time, there was an opening in the training department at the company that I work at. Now, I had thought about the idea, but it wasn't a really solid idea. But what was more interesting is that my friends and colleagues started to forward the email to me saying, Raj, you should apply. And I was thinking, do they know something about me that I don't know about myself? And I applied, and I went to the interview, and I was this whippersnapper, and there were people who were 30 years of age, 40 years of age applying. And the first comment from the committee was like, who are you? What are you going to do? And the setup of the interview was like, you know these TV shows? What do you call these TV shows when you have someone like performing and you have like 3 people assessing them? What does TV shows call? Like, yeah, American Idol, yeah, or something like that. So the interview this was the interview, the setup of the interview. So I stood there and I gave my speech. And the feedback was amazing. It's like, wow, this guy really has it. And they started to talk to me and they said, you know what? And I got the job. So this, sure enough, kept me going in the personal development journey, and I spent 2 years as a trainer, spending time with people, training them and developing to be their best. 2 years later, guess what? I wanted more. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to be like those big people that I learned from, I read their books, I watched them. But this time, it was really different. I had a mixed feeling. A part of me wanted to be more, another part of me started to calculate the risk of loss. What if I fail? What if I lose it all? What if I'm not a good speaker? So as this guy who was barely making it in life and slowly but surely made himself up to be pretty much successful, and now I'm thinking, should I leave everything that I was building since the age of 16? Or should I rationalize my thinking and just maintain the stability that I created? The last thing I did, I decided to leave everything and go speak for a living. 6 months into it, all my savings were completely depleted. I crashed over my face. And I couldn't understand. I was really devastated. Roger, you're the financial dude who always calculates things well. Now you're miserable, you're broke. But from an emotional perspective, let me tell you, I would give a speech and people would come to me and say, hey, you changed my life. And I say, it feels good. But how does this feeling me? I have no money, I'm broke. All of this started to make me think and started to let me go and search for answers. I remember one time my roommate came and told me, he was like teasing me, it's like, Roger, you fool, who quits his job for that? Do you mind watching some of your motivation speeches? Maybe you can get motivated to pay the rent with me? It's like, I was embarrassed, I was really lost. All this made me go and search for answers, and I had two options. Either I go back and beg for my job back, either I start to try to find out what the heck is going on with me. And all this made me realize, and I made a discovery. It turns out that there is a hidden factor, another part of the formula, where all remarkable successful people understand, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And it's the simplest thing about human behavior, what can constantly drive us to operate on a high level. I call it disruptive thinking. You may call it whatever you want. What it means is the following. But first, let's define the term really quickly. Disruptive means to radically interrupt a usual event, to throw into confusion, into uncertainty. What does this mean to us? Well, in our human nature, there are two forces that control our entire decision and actions in life: pain avoidance and seek of pleasure. We as human beings, we tend to move away from the things that bring us pain and move toward the things that bring us pleasure. It's our meta programs. We call them, how we are deeply wired neurologically. And as human beings, we tend to be far more driven from pain avoidance force than the seek of pleasure factor. For example, it's very easy for us not to go to the gym than to go to the gym. We avoid the pain. Now, in my case, in order to avoid pain, what I will do is that I would have not jumped and made the leap. I would have stayed at my pleasant work. Now, at the same time, once we are in a painful situation, what we do is that we shift automatically back where it was safe. And in my case, I would go back to the job that I was, or find anything that is pain-free, and probably would never ever done this silly thing again. What remarkable successful people do, whether consciously or unconsciously, is that they do not avoid pain to seek pleasure. They use pain avoidance force to their benefit to go and achieve things in life. Let me give you an example of a guy called Jan Koum. Jan Koum, he was a janitor. He made his way up to working at Yahoo. That's a great deal of success. Many of us would enjoy being at Yahoo and would stop there. He quits Yahoo, disruptive thinking, did a bunch of projects, founded WhatsApp, and $19 billion sold to Facebook. Let me tell you another story of a guy called Ben Silbermann. Ben Silbermann, he made his way up to working at Google. That's a great deal of success. Many of us would stop here and enjoy working at Google. He quits Google, disruptive thinking. Did a bunch of stuff, created first app, failed, created second app, failed, kept on enhancing it till now it's Pinterest, one of the top 35 websites worldwide. Here's another guy called Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman made his way up to working at Apple and Fujitsu. That's a great deal of success. Many of us would enjoy working at Apple and Fujitsu and just stop there. He quits Fujitsu, disruptive thinking. And he did his first business, he failed, he did a bunch of projects, and then now he co-founded LinkedIn. You can notice a pattern here, which is disruptive thinking. All these remarkable successful people, what they do is that once they attain a certain level of success, once they attain this stability, they disrupt it, they jump into the unknown. Because they know once you are into an uncertain disruptive situation, all your forces will get activated. It will trigger an inner strength in you, and a dormant power will awaken, allowing you to achieve more than you can ever imagine. Now, you've heard the saying that I failed in life, and life knocked me down, and I went to the worst, and this made me the person who I am. All these are inspiring sayings. But what we are truly saying is that these people were in an extreme disruptive situation which allowed them to operate on a high level and achieve highest things. Now, if you try to rationalize this, it might look like a suicidal thinking. It's a stupid thing to do. Why do I not disrupt my reality? And I will tell you, you're right. But at the same time, all these remarkable people, if you notice, nobody understood them at the beginning, and many of the people opposed them. And you might say, okay, maybe this is not really new to me, it's not the deepest secret in the world, and I would say yes, but it's one thing to know it, and it's another thing to do it. And what's beautiful in this is that either we let disruption be a reactional event, something that was brought on us in life, either we choose it proactively and we decide to constantly disrupt our realities. Now, as for me, when I discovered this concept of disruptive thinking, and I was in this miserable and painful situation, I started to use this pain avoidance to my benefit. And let me tell you, the couple of years that passed, I have achieved things I never have dreamed of achieving this fast. I'm training and speaking in front of different audiences from different parts of the world and different nationalities, and it is the most two exciting years that I had in my entire adult life combined. And once you understand this concept, you become addicted to it, and you go back to it every time you want to take a decision. So if you want to constantly check if you are disrupting your realities or not, ask yourself these three questions. Is the situation that I'm in stable? Is it secure? Is it comfortable? Well, as much as you might be perceived from others that you achieved a great deal of success, let me tell you, you're living half what you could live. If you answer, is it challenging? Is it allowing me to create something out of it beyond the norm? Is it growing me? Is it uncertain? If you answer yes to this part, let me tell you, as much as it might look like you're in a chaotic, messy situation, you're on your way to create great stuff. Now, as a consequences, it's not gonna be easy. You're gonna have an unbalanced life, and unbalanced days. It's gonna be frustrating. There will be a lot of setbacks. And if you seek comfort and pleasure, you probably won't like it, and maybe you will not opt to it. But if you choose to disrupt it, the reward will be wonderful. Now, to conclude, for those who are still a little bit, why should I disrupt my realities, Raj, every single time? Can't I take it easy on me? Well, I will tell you something, and I will quote. Someone once told me the definition of hell. The last day on earth, the person you became will meet the person that you could have become. Don't let this be the biggest regret you have. Thank you very much.